the baby mama drama, baby daddy drama, that's the issue, because the child suffers the most. The mother that hates the father, that child suffers the most. The father that hates the mother, that child suffers. So your hate against this child's father or your hate against this child mother, who suffers? The child.
Proud, 25 and I gotta be the man now. I've been tucked, but it's time for me to stand.
I'm curious. I mean, listen, you're talking to two single black mothers. Who I, of course, more than anything, I wish me and my partner could have stayed together and we could have worked it out. Unfortunately, that just wasn't conducive to either one of our happiness. So you're telling me that my daughter living with her father is statistically she's in a better position or basically going to grow up with this, I guess,
masculine.
No. It's the two-parent household, right? Like, so a child who grows up with her father is basically
has as much of a chance as if they grew up in a two-parent household versus just the mother.
Correct.
I beg to differ. I feel like most women,
there's a level of nurturing that isn't going to be present. There's a level of, I just feel like, emotional intelligence that is not going to be present. And not to say that men are not emotionally intelligent, because I think that there are men that are. But there's a lot of men that are emotionally inept. And I think that women generally are a little more mature. And yes, I believe that two-parent home is ideal. That is ideal. I want that. If I ever have another child, absolutely, that is my hope and prayer. But I'm not going to stay in a relationship that doesn't serve me or the family, so I'm just curious how the father takes on this role of the two parents
better than maybe just the mother.
Yeah, well, you got to look at what the child need, right? Like specifically, let's say for a boy first, right? A boy does not want to become his mother, right? So therefore, a boy gonna naturally rebel against his mother because that's not who he wants to be. So your thoughts are not my thoughts as a man. I don't think like you. So the way you'll go about solving a problem, thinking about things, is not how I'm going to. If I take on your thinking, I'm gonna take on feminine thinking. That's not my first mind. So I'm naturally going to rebel against the things that you say because I don't want to become you. A child wants to become their father, right? The son wants to become their father. That's what you look up to, right? In that household.
But if their father isn't a good man,
now you talking about a completely different dynamic. We just talking about a father, right? So even when a father's not a good man, their young boy still wants to know their father. They need to know what's inside them. It's actually very important.
Absolutely.
A father is like a mountain for a child, right? The child gets to a point where you cross that mountain, where you reach the top and you went further than your father, right? And that's the journey of every child, right? That's your hero. Even for young girls, their hero is their father, right? That's the one that's going out in the world. They can't wait for their father to come back home, to teach them, to protect them, to console them, right? And as a young boy, if you looking up to your father, whether you think he's a good man or not, the child don't know that. The child don't know the difference between a father being moral or immoral. They just know that that's their father, right? And so they need something for their father. They need that comforting. They need that protection,
but
right?
If they don't get that, then what?
Then they start to seek it outside the house. They can't get that in the mom. They're still going to miss that, and they're going to miss that masculine energy. So what a lot of men join gangs, a lot of men get into groups, right? They start to seek that in so many different ways of that masculine comfort, right? Same thing with young women. They seek that in men. They didn't have their father, so that's where the promiscuity starts to permit, right? But a father is a guiding force, right? It's that strong voice that you have, right? And so even oftentimes when a child, even if the father is not, or the man is not good, a child doesn't see that, doesn't know that. All he knows is that's what they want their father. You have an idea of who your father is, and you want your father to uphold that idea, right? And when you look at society today,
until he does it and they grow up and then they have,
well, that's not all fathers. Like, black men are in their children's lives more than any other men and spend more time with their children than any other man, right? That's a known fact, right? There are many great black fathers, and the problem is that black fatherhood is not heralded at all. Black fatherhood is known as like an enemy. That's the baby daddy, right? And so instead, without being celebrated, you have all these people with daddy issues. They never get over it, ever, right? And they go their whole life not even knowing that their perspective, their ideology, their philosophies, their ways, their emotions, right, have never been dealt with. Shout out to Kendrick. He made that beautiful song, Daddy Issues, right? Men don't know how to become men, right? Because they never had a father in their household that taught them how to deal with those emotions. Wait a minute, son. This is how you go through this process.
So for the women that are single moms that have boys.
This video is sponsored by Eve Rabash's Patreon. I can tell you guys, content creation is a game changer. But the thing is, you got to be patient. You got to be able to put in the work day after day, time after time, in order to get what you want in life. I've really looked at my experience. I've looked at what I've gone through, and I'm like, you know what? I can start helping people now. I can help people become content creators because I have found so many gems, so much knowledge. I mean, come on, the record speaks for itself. You go head out on my YouTube channel and you see what I'm doing out there. We are doing numbers. YouTube shorts are going crazy. My vlogs are going crazy, dropping every single day. I love you guys, man. I want you to grow. I want you to see a pathway for yourself. There's no limit to what you can achieve and where you are going. And if you're really serious about content creation, if you're really serious about being a YouTuber, I got the gems and I'm giving them away on my Patreon.
I mean, this is something that, you know, I think is also is important, and I've shared this too. Is I think how important it is. Say your father doesn't want to be in the picture. Say that father has passed away. Is, in your opinion, a second runner up would be for that woman to make sure that that son has positive male figures in his
Absolutely.
life? Is that enough? Is that enough?
I don't think anything can absolutely replace a biological father. That just the normality of having a biological father. You come from that, like, part of you is him. That's the essence, right? So that's who you are. So there's like things about your father that even his flaws you have to know about so you can overcome them, right? Like, let's say that he was addicted to drugs. You need to know that you might smoke weed not knowing that this is an addiction that you got from him, right? So learning your father allows you to go above, right? You look at your father and this is the mountain that you must climb. This is the peak that you must go over. Like, a father spoiling his child is not good. Our father is supposed to give that child the opportunity to grow and develop, right? And you don't, grow your child or your sons particularly in fear, because some fathers do that. They don't want them sons to be better than them. You're supposed to grow your son not to be like you, but to be better than you. That's the journey of a good father, right? Now, if you don't have a father in the household, not there, whatever reason, that child, like I said, it's no way to just replace that. Like, you can't replace a mother, right? Completely. Like, that biological mother, that biological essence, we have an attachment to that regardless. But now, having that masculine energy or that feminine energy can be replaced, right? So a good, mentor or role model, or, back in the day, it wasn't just single homes. This was communities, right? So there were many men that were helping raise that child, many women that were helping raise that child. You can go to elders. Nowadays, we just don't have that, right? We have a lot of household where there's a singular authority, and then that child has to rebel against that or listen to that.
Especially for Black women, the stigma of being a single Black mom is so heavy, is that a lot of times we are conditioned as women that I'm going to stick this out for for this family unit so that I can give my child this 2-parent home, because this is the epitome, like, this is the success of, like, a Black family. And I think in a perfect world, we would be with those people and everything would be, hunky-dory, family matters.
What we're talking about is, how do you break the cycle? Right? So we talk about creating healthy dynamics before children. What is the expectation of being a husband? What is the expectation of being a wife? What is the expectation of being a mother? What's the expectation of being a father? Right? We're not talking about just passionate love and romanticism. We're talking about the duty that both people are going into, right? What's the long-term vision and the expectation? That child is going to have to live in, right, that reality that you all create for them. Well, that lack of conversation that you didn't have, the maturity of picking the wrong people or being together at the wrong time, that's not the child's fault. That the dynamic was that between their parents, but they have to live through that, and the consequences are their development, because that's their environment. So that produces their outcome, partially of who they are, if they don't have the grit to be able to get over that.
Or if
right?
you don't choose that, if you don't recognize, like, hey, we maybe made an early decision that we weren't really mature enough to make, and now the best healthy thing is for us to move away from each other and do this in a co-parenting and healthy space.
And the co-parenting is the super key, because the other side of that, you got the baby mama drama, baby daddy drama. That's the issue, because the child suffers the most.
Absolutely.
Right? The mother that hates the father, that child suffers the most. The father that hates the mother, that child suffers. So your hate against this child's father, or your hate against this child mother, who suffers? The child. Right? You can't have parents who hate each other. They go feel that, because that hate produced me. Right? So how y'all go, like, it has to be an aspect of you that treat that person with love because you love me. So that's respecting the child first and foremost.
This video is sponsored by Eve Rabash's Patreon.
Right? And so without that dynamic, that child doesn't get to see that. Right? Those moments that you think the child may not know, there's a lot of unconscious rooted seeds that get planted in that child's development. Right? They may never say anything, and it may just be a part of them as they grow up. There's a lot of mother who may, father out the household may verbally talk about that man like he ain't shit. Now that boy never wants to become that man. Right? But he doesn't realize that he doesn't know he don't want to become a man. Right? Not just his father. Right? Because that's the way she spoke about men. So now he don't even want to become masculine because it just sounded so toxic. Right? And so, same thing with the father. Your mom ain't shit. She don't know this. So now she's not developing healthily. Right? Because of y'all dynamics. So who gets the worst end of that is always the child. Right? So what I was just explaining is the same thing a doctor would explain. What's the remedy? Right? What works and what doesn't work. I don't personalize anything I talk about. I just look at the high level overview. Like, these are the science, this the facts, these are statistics, this what will work. Then we have our personal feelings towards things because of our experiences. So we go look at it and perceive it based on that. But no, let's just look at the plain facts. Right? Like, a child would love to be in a healthy relationship and hope that their parents made the right decision to find the right person before they were made, so that they get the opportunity of growing up in a healthy dynamic.
Are you a product of a healthy dynamic?
No.
Are your parents still together?
No.
So how do you?
I've seen both sides. I was with my mother more than I was with my father. I had to look at my parents as human beings. Right? So like, I speak a lot of things from experience. Right? I learned as an adult to understand my parents, to not personalize their dynamics, because I was able to look at them for who they are, what they went through, what's their background, what they didn't have, what did happen to them. And it helped me understand the dynamics so well that I was just able to forgive both of them. So I didn't hold that on to either one, right? For them not being together, or my father not being there at times that he should have.
25 and I gotta be the man now. I've been tucked, but it's time for me to stand.